Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all participants joining us from around the world. I am Dr. Saki Mushtaq, founder and lead coordinator of the Global Entomologist Network. And it is my pleasure to open today's seminar titled Nature's Tiny Assassins: The Role of Predatory Mites in Integrated Pest Management. This seminar aims to highlight the critical role of predatory mites as effective biological control agents within integrated pest management systems, contributing to sustainable pest suppression and reducing dependence on chemical pesticides. Through the integration of research-driven insights and modern biological control strategies, this session will explore how predatory mites can be effectively utilized for managing key arthropod pests, enhancing crop protection, and promoting environmentally sustainable agricultural practices. The discussion will also emphasize the ecological importance, diversity, and practical application of predatory mites in improving biological control efficiency, maintaining agro-ecosystem balance, and supporting resilient farming systems. At Gen, we remain committed to fostering collaboration, mentorship, and capacity building among researchers and professionals worldwide, with the shared goal of advancing a scientifically informed and sustainable future in agriculture and environmental management. With this, let begins today's session. I now invite the Gen Secretary Ms. Ansa Ali to introduce our esteemed speaker, Dr. Jawwad Hassan Mirza from King Saud University, Saudi Arabia. Ms. Ansa Ali, can you hear me, please? You can start. All right, I think there is some problem with Ms. Ansa, so I will
Thank
continue.
you, Dr. Saki. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please.
It is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker, Dr. Jawwad Hassan Mirza, an accomplished researcher at King Saud University, Saudi Arabia. Dr. Jawwad holds a PhD in entomology with specialization in ecology from King Saud University and has been working as a researcher at the Ecology Research Laboratory since 2014, where he contributes to advanced research in systematics and applied pest management. He has over 10 years of international research experience in biological control, taxonomy, biodiversity studies, and molecular identification, with 38 plus publications in reputed journals and involvement in research projects worth 24 million SAR in Saudi Arabia. He earned his PhD in entomology, specialization in ecology from King Saud University in March 2021. Dr. Jawwad has also served as a lecturer in entomology at MNS University of Agriculture, Pakistan, and worked as National Institute of Biotechnology and Genetic Engineering, Pakistan, on the Barcode of Life project, where he conducted extensive field surveys and applied DNA barcoding for insect identification. Today, Dr. Jawwad will share his valuable knowledge and insights on the ecological importance of predatory mites, their role as natural enemies in pest suppression, and their growing significance in integrated pest management for sustainable agriculture. Dr. Jawwad Hassan Mirza, we warmly welcome you and invite you to take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you so much uh, for this very nice and important session. Uh, I appreciate the efforts of the Global Entomologist Network team. They put through voluntarily only with the sole purpose to facilitate the learning easy and reachable for everyone. I do sincerely appreciate your insight in this. Today's uh, topic is very broad, and it was a little bit challenging for me to put everything that I know or of my interest in this Times session. I was just listening to the introductory uh, sentences which respected Dr. Saqib and Miss Ansa has said. Uh, it brought to my attention that I may have missed one or two key aspects of the presentation, so I may cover them while I'm speaking. However, the floor for the questions will be open at the end, and I do encourage everyone to put forward your questions. Through questions, we learn together. In today's presentation, however, which I'm not able to, okay, control. Let me see what's the issue is. Okay, right. Is my screen visible to everyone? This is right?
Yes.
Okay. Uh, the contents would be that many, but however, I have made a summary. The main objective or the idea is to share the knowledge based on the concept and to see here where we can apply these concepts for the pest management. What are the problems we can face and how we can solve those issues? Well, the biological control, I think there is no such need for the definition over here. That it's a very important, significant part of integrated pest management. Usually, it is we see three categories of predators, parasitoids, and pathogens, which are usually implied in this category of management, and each one of them has their own pros and cons, and they all largely depend on the pest that we are targeting, the cropping system that we have, the environmental conditions that we are facing. And biocontrol has a very much significance in the management of the pest. I refer to one of the slides in Gen Seminar 7, where we were talking about the significance of taxonomy. Um, uh, the link is over here. Someone wants to read the whole story about the Vidalia beetle, how it was controlled in California citrus orchards through Vidalia beetle. This is a very interesting story, and it gives a significance to everyone that how uh, the matter of biological control is so complex. It's not that easy, but it has at the same time very great significance. However, among all these three categories of predators, parasitoids, and pathogens, predators do have an edge among the others. Uh, Primarily because they feed on all the stages. They are okay. I will just take the pointer over here. Yeah, so they feed on all the stages of the predator. Generally speaking, exceptions are over there, but however, all the stages of the predator they are feeding, and they feed on all the stages of the pest, whether they are eggs, they are larvae. So they are trying to control or provide the management at critical stages, which are damaging stages for the crop. Yeah, in between, I will just raise these questions. These are just point to ponders for personal knowledge. However, when the predators they have an edge, we should not forget about the intragrid predation and cannibalism. These two terminologies, if not clear, they will come later in the slides. So we come to predatory mites. The first question would come that why predatory mites? That why we are using the predatory mites when we have the options from the insects. So I will address that in the upcoming slide. But before we go and find the reason that why we are using predatory mites, I will just go some taxonomical aspects that the predatory mites they belong to two groups or classifications of the mite subclass, a carry subclass, suborder Prostigmata and order Mesostigmata. From the order Prostigmata, there are families like Stigmidae, Raphignathidae, Deridae, Connexidae. They are potential predators. And from order Mesostigmata, there is Phytocidae, Lilapidae, Parasitidae, Ascidae, and there are other families which are important for the biological control of mite pests. However, among them, the phytocidi and lelapidi, they are of higher significance as compared to the others, and they have certain biological, ecological, behavioral features which make them superior than the other families. So, among all the families and groups which are predatory in nature in the mites, Phytocidi family and the Lilapidi family, they are considered most significant. So, why phytocides are different? Number one, they have ciliate dentate mouth parts. They have many teeth in their chelicerae, through which they can easily capture the prey. They have hypostomal groove through which they efficiently feed on their prey. They have larger body dorsal body setae. Setae are the hairs on the dorsal side of the body. We will see the significance when we come to specific examples. They are somewhat larger in size than prey, not that much big, but they are somewhat larger, enough to fit inside the home of their prey, which is spider mite, which makes uh, webs on their host plant surface. They have thin, long legs, generally speaking, so it helps them to walk and move and run faster. From the ecological point of view, phytocidi are superior. They have adopted themselves towards the habitat where their prey is available. All stages are found on leaf and foliage, and they are not only providing management for the mites, but they are also important for providing management for the insect pests like aphid, thrips, whitefly. They are also used for the management of insect pests. And when it comes for the behavior, the phytocides have adopted themselves through the process of coevolution. They have co-evolved themselves with the pest species, especially the mites, and they know how to move and how to predate or how to cope with the how to deal with the webbing structures of the spider mites, and they have variety of lifestyles. We will see what lifestyles mean. So generally speaking, lifestyles is their way of dealing or way of living, how they live to survive and to grow and to reproduce. So the question is that why we are using mites against mites? Why predatory mites? Why not insect mites? Uh, we see that they all of the mites, predatory mites, they have successful completion of life cycle. There are example in the insect mites, in insect predators, although very few, but some of them they cannot complete their life cycle on the mites. So first aspect, if the predator you are using is not able to complete its life cycle on the prey or on the food it's feeding on, what's the use of using that predator? So phytocid mites or predatory mites, they successfully complete their life cycle on the feeding on the pest mites. They are found in association with the mites wherever the spider mites or pest mites are available or found either in the uncultivated or cultivated vegetations. They are found over there. Even the population, if it is low, they can survive and they can feed on alternate food sources. They have better environmental compatibility. They are efficient in mass rearing, uh, especially the phytocid predatory mites. They are their mass rearing is very efficient. We can rear them in the laboratories, and that's why the global companies they are dealing with their business. They have evolved with the prey, means that as the there is a term in the ecology which is called as arm race. So arm race is that when one organism is trying to evolve itself for a better for the better survival, the other organism which is feeding on it will also evolve itself. So they have co-evolved with the prey, with the mites. So that's why they are the best option for the when it comes for the management of the spider mites, and they can quickly disperse because it will be not because it will be a little bit strange for the one who don't know mites or have not have any experience with the mites that they don't have wings, then how they quickly disperse. So this is the another aspect of coevolution, that they have developed their behavioral traits through which they can disperse themselves. In the spider mites, the pest mites, the dispersal behavior comes through air, and they have special behavior. However, today's topic is about the predatory mites. So predatory mites have a specific behavior for dispersal, that whenever a predatory mite has to, especially if I have to say it, when they have to move from one place to another, one plant to another, they come to the topmost leaf of the plant. They raise their body. Uh, Remember, they have four pair of legs. It means eight legs. So they raise their body while standing on only four legs. It means two pair of legs. And while their other two pair of legs, which are front legs, they raise in the air to capture anything that they can catch on, either passing by wind or passing by any human or passing by any animal. They can catch on, and when they are transported, either by any means, preferably by air, they land on the suitable substrate, and over there they search for their food source. So as we were talking about that, the predatory mites and spider mites in particular as a pest mite category, uh, they have co-evolved. So there is a continuous cycle of evolution, or cycle of counter attack, or countering their mechanism is going on. So here we can identify or understand them from the category of defense and offense. So offense will be attack over here. So let's start from the spider mites. So what kind of offense or attack or mechanism spider mites have? They have varying web structures. They attack invaders. It is specifically the behavior of the males in the spider mites, that they are very aggressive. Whenever any other species from the spider mites or any other predator or insect predator, they come inside the web of the spider mites, the male, they fight, they attack on those predators, and they insert their mouth parts, which are stylet like mouth parts, and then suck the juices out of them. This is their mechanism of attack. So they have an attack behavior in the when it comes to the offense. For this for this offense, the predatory mites, they have a defense mechanism. They have morphological and behavioral modifications, and they have an integral predation. So if there is another predator which is causing the the aggressiveness in the population of the spider mites, they feed on them, and they also then feed on the pest mites. And they have morphological and behavioral modifications. This is the topic of the next slide, that how their morphology and behavior is helping them to helping in their defense. In return, what kind of offense predatory mites they give? They give the web invasion and predation of the prey. So they increase or they enhance their web invasion to go inside the web structure through force entries, and then they increase their predation on the prey. For that, what the spider mites have the defense is they go for the temporary evacuation. They leave the web for some time so that the predator, when it will find nothing, they can go back. Actually, this can be interesting. It has been a topic of interesting research, that how predatory mites, sorry, these pest mites, they behave in the presence or absence of the predators, and how the predatory mites behave in the absence or presence of a prey inside the web. So sometimes there is a special behavior of some predatory mites, that they stay inside the web of the spider mites who have vacated it or have left temporarily. There are some aspects through which a predator can become a specialist or a special to be used in a biocontrol program for the spider mites. One of them is their forced entry in the web, that they make holes and then force themselves to go inside. They are not giving up that they cannot enter. They are just trying to make their way. They spend more time to face complex webs. If they have to rest after so much tiresome work to move through the web of the spider mites, they stay inside the web. They don't go outside the web. They wait inside the web. And through these behaviors, they can also escape the intragrid predation. So intragrid predation is like a hyperparasitism, like one predator is feeding on another predator. So when you release a combination of predators and one predator starts feeding on the other, it means your biological control program has failed. So we will see how we can avoid that when it comes to use the predatory mites in IPM strategy. So they escape the integral predation while they're waiting inside the nest. And while they're waiting inside and the motiles are absent, they feed on the eggs. So as I mentioned in the previous slide, that all stages of the predatory mites, they feed on all the stages of the pest mites. This makes them more suitable to be used. In addition to that, those characteristics, there are some characteristics or aspects of life which are very important to evaluate before we use or select or label any predator as a specialist predator. One of them is the functional response, another one is the life type. I will not go in the definitions in particular for the functional response. However, both of them, they have types, and both of them, they have the types as one, two, three. So they should not be confused. So whenever you are going through a literature and you have to see type 1 predator, type 2 predator, so the natural question that should come in your mind is, are we talking about the functional response or we are talking about the lifestyle? So these are two different things, and we will see how they are two different things. But if I say a certain predator is type 1 predator, it does not mean it is has a lifestyle of a type 1 predator. It may mean it has a functional response of type 1 predator. And one predator can have both things at the same time. One predator can have a type 1 functional response and a type 1 lifestyle, and it can be different. One predator can have a type 2 functional response, at the same time have a type 1 lifestyle. So let's not be confused. Let's go one by one how we can differentiate between them. But my point, which I'm trying to raise over here, that whenever you talk about or read about that this predator is a type 1 predator, so we have to identify and clarify from the very start that what we are referring to, type of a functional response or type of a lifestyle. So functional response, when it comes to the type 1, it is linear, which means that the uh, the y-axis of this graph represents the number of prey fed on, and the x-axis represents the density of the prey. So as the density of the prey is increasing, the number predated is sharply increasing and there is no end. It means as much density you will increase, the predator will feed on it and will leave nothing behind. You can even understand it from the perspective of proportion. So if a predator is feeding 100% of its prey when five individuals were present, it will continue to feed on 100% of the prey when 100 individuals will be present. So its proportion is not changing. Its number of prey it's feeding on, it's not changing. The type 2 functional response refers to that the number of prey the predator is feeding on will increase with the prey density to a certain limit. After that, it will become linear. It will reach a plateau. In scientific terminologies, this place is called as satiation or saturation, that the predator has reached its capacity, that is, it is not going to feed any more further, more number of individuals. You can see this line over here shows that the predator has reached its capacity, that it will feed on 20 individuals it will eat, 25 individuals, no, it will eat still 20. If you Gilby specialist mite predator, that unless the population of spider mites reaches a certain number, the predator does not start feeding. So it waits that the population builds up. And when the population builds up, it starts feeding and then reaches the plateau, which is the saturation or the satiation. So these types, when we now scientists, after making experiments and studies, functional response studies, they have identified different types of each predator. Now, this is very important to know when we are using any predator in a biological control program, that it is what is its level of satiation, at what number it will stop feeding, because in this way we can define our release ratios, that at what ratio we should release our predator. What's the lifestyle? Now, lifestyle is depending upon the morphology, the habitat, and feeding preferences. It also has type 1, but type 1 predators are those predators, mite predators, which are specialist to Tetranicus genus. This is one of the genus, one of the genera in the spider mites. So they are specialist only on those species which belong to this certain genus. And they have subcategories which depend on what kind of webbing they can deal with and what kind of pest they can deal with. Type 2 predators, they are also specialist predators, but they are overall for the spider mite family. Type 1 was for the genus specifically, and type 2 are specialist predators, but for the whole family. They can feed on different spider mites. They can even feed on low number of spider mites. They can deal with varying webbing densities, even low or high. They have more adaptability. Type 3 predators, they are generalist predators, and they are mostly categorized what kind of habitat they are good on. They are not good in dealing with the spider mites webbing. They do feed on most of the spider mites. They do provide management of most of the spider mites, but they are categorized based on what place they are acquiring or using as their home when we use them in the biological control program. The type 4 predators, they are pollen feeders. So if you release them, they will first of all try to find pollens to feed on, and mites will be their secondary or tertiary option to feed on. So they are not good when it comes for using them in a biological control program. So together, the functional response and the lifestyle of predatory mites give us complete picture about certain predatory mite that we are going to use in a integrated pest management program against these spider mites, and this will help us to make a effective biological control program. Let's talk about the specialists. Some examples we can take over here. So Phytoceras persimilis is one of the best examples. When it comes to the specialist mite predators, they are specialist predators of the Tetranicus species from the Tetranicus genus. They are efficient web invaders. Now they have a morphological adaptation. There are two types of morphological adaptations that they have. One is that they use their, number one, I'm telling you right now, that one of them is that they use their chelicerae in back and forth motion. So this is placed, if you can see my pointer, I don't know why it's so small. However, you can see this red pointer, red dot moving. This is their palps through which they sense or smell their environment. So what they do, that these lines are the silk threads of the spider mite web, that they capture these silk threads of the spider mite web through their palps, bring them to their mouth parts, which is the chelicerae, and then through back and forth movement, they break the silken threads. So they have this ability, they have this adaptation, behavioral adaptation through which they can easily move inside or cope with the web of the spider mite. Second is they have long dorsal body setae, as I mentioned in the earlier slides. So if you follow the pointer, red pointer, this is the dorsal surface, which I'm trying to show you through this red pointer. That this is the dorsal surface, and these long hairs, as you see from the dorsal side, they are their dorsal hairs. Now, what these dorsal hairs are doing, that they are keeping this. ST means silk threads, and DS means dorsal setae. So ST are the silken threads, and these hairs, what they are doing, that they are keeping the silk threads of the spider mite web away from their body. So it makes their path very clear to move inside the web. Next species is the Glendromus helveolus. They have shorter legs and they have co-evolved with the spider mites as they show multiple attack behaviors. And the good thing is that they are compatible. Compatibility means they can be used as a combination with the other predators, and there is no fear of integral predation. There are some species in Nucellus like Nucellus californicus, Nucellus vermercilli, which are very good and efficient predators, and they have also adopted a different way of attack. Like I mentioned over here, it's a coevolution that they use first pair of legs when they have to move inside the webs of Oligonicus persiamite, and they use their palps to move inside the web of Tetranicus urtica. Here's a short video. I will quickly run it. Okay, now I need to know how to run it. Okay. Right. Oh, this is a pointer. Oh my goodness, I made a mistake. This was laser. Yeah. Yeah, this will help. So here's a small video. As you can see, this is the Nucellus californicus trying to make an entry hole and then move inside to feed on the female of the Triticus urticae. When it shows aggressive behavior, they've tried to feed on eggs. When they find that no, it's better to feed on the female because it's going to be more nutritious, they change their options and then feed. So they make this kind of V-shaped entry hole, as it is very clear in this video. In the next slide, I will show you that the how the entry holes appear when they are feeding on the Oligonicus perseiumite uh, uh, on their leaf surface. So the predators are present under the web. As the video zooms out, you will see that the web's silken threads are more clear, and there are entry holes or gunshot holes very clear, which shows their entry holes. When it comes to generalists, there are a few examples that we can talk about. But the problem with the generalists is that they usually prefer to feed outside the web. They don't have morphological and behavioral adaptations. Their movement is hindered, their foraging activity is reduced, and usually they die or they lose their limbs when they are dealing with the spider mite webs. One of the example that I worked on is Sidnosis negevi. It's a generalist predator. It feeds well on the individuals of the date palm mite, but when it comes for the webbing structures, it faces a problem. So here I show you, just I need your keen interest, see how this predator actively catches the motile stage of the date palm mite and does not let it go. This is especially in the case when the webbing is absent or webbing is very, very low. So there is no such hindrance for this predatory mite to feed on the individuals of the date palm mite. Here in the next clip, you can see that this predator is trying to capture this prey under the web, but the web density is very low, and it is easy for it to move inside and then capture its prey. But what happens with this predator? Now here's the problem. What happens then when it faces heavy or dense webbing? So this predator is moving and then it's trying to capture a prey over here, which just slips out of its grasp and move inside its home, and the predator is frustrated over here and it cannot move inside the web because it's a generalist. It doesn't have that behavioral and morphological adaptations. Same over here in this video, you can see that it is forcing its way. It's putting its a lot of energy just to move through the web structures of the date palm mite on the date palm leaf. And when it comes outside, it's takes a sigh of relief that now everything is fine. So here's the problem with the generalist and specialist predator, and why it is important to know what kind of functional response they have and what kind of lifestyle they have before we use them in the biological control program. Quickly moving through, there's a very, very important question when it comes to use any biological control agent, and in particular a predatory mite in an agro ecosystem, that which one should we use, an indigenous one or an introduced one. So the best option when it comes for the biological control is to use an indigenous species, a local fauna. Yes, there are some hindrances that you have to, first of all, explore what kind of natural fauna you have. And you have to go through a literature that what kind of efficiency has been studied about that species. And you have to make some laboratory experiments to better understand before you actually start for its mass rearing or using them in the biological control program. However, this is the best option to use the local or indigenous population because they are associated, they have natural association, they have adopted to the natural climatic conditions. They don't pose that much biodiversity threats. However, if there is no certain option available, introduced or commercially available species which are not native or adopted to your climatic conditions can be used, but there should be an extreme care. uh, First we need to see that how much adaptable they are to the local conditions, and there is an example about that. We will see a certain case study in the coming slides where we will see how adaptability to local conditions can cause a severe problem if we are not aware of it when we are using the predatory mites in certain biological control program. We have to see its biological potential, that what is its fecundity. If it is going to replace the local species, the introduced one is going to destroy the local fauna. So we have to take care of many things in consideration before we blindly just introduce something which is labeled as potential. So there are some case scenarios where we can see, uh, can we use multiple predators if one is not the option or one is not providing the control? Yes, there are different combinations, but there will be pros and cons about them. So if you use two specialist predators, which is generally not suggested, it is primarily because the specialist predators, they are feeding on the same species. They don't feed on any alternate host plant, on any alternate prey species. So it means the pressure will be on one prey species, and when that prey species is gone from the locality, the specialist predator population will decline. So you can go on and use them in the augmentative biological control program, release one time and have the management. But when it comes for the sustainable biological control pest management, specialist combinations is not a suitable option. Similarly, if we want to use generalists to predators, yes, because generalists are feeding on variety of pests, and this is the same thing that poses a problem because they are going to attack non-target organisms, and the intragral predation will be more evident or in generalist plus generalist options. What if we use specialist and a generalist together? Yes, this is good recommended. People and the scientists and researchers have got good results. In particular, Phytoceras persimilis and Nucellus californicus. This is a good combination that can be used in the greenhouses in the field for the management of spider mites. But again, we have to take care of the intragral predation. So how all the negative points that we have discussed over here, we can take care of them. It is through proper understanding of what kind of biology they have, what kind of behavior they have, what kind of ecological interactions they are facing. Without the complete knowledge, releasing biological control agents in the field is not going to give us any kind of results. I would like to highlight one of the important findings I was reading this morning about the functional response. That most of these studies, when it comes to the generalist and specialist predators, functional response goes as type 2 or type 3. However, which is when we use them in the field, they don't give desirable results. So one of the aspects which is causing a problem over here, and which scientists or researchers or students don't consider while when they are making the functional response experiments, is that the densities that they are providing, they are not actually the scenario which is the predator is going to face in the field. So this aspect we have to take care when we make any laboratory studies, that we mimic or we try to give as much as possible the similar conditions the predator is going to face in the field. We provide them in the laboratory so that when their behavior we are studying or their ecology or biology we are studying, we clearly understand what they are actually going to do. In my personal experience, I think most of these or some of these aspects were not clear when we made some field or lab experiments, and these results came unexpected. So we had to go back and identify what's the problem, where we missed something. Yeah, if the problem is not spider mites, the problem is nematodes, then yes, predatory mites can still provide a very, very good solution. And Lillipedi family, as I mentioned earlier, after the Phytoceti family, Lillipedi family from the order Mesostigmata is most significant one. There are three species in particular which are used for the nematode pest management. Among them, the most famous one is the Stratiolelaps scimatus, widely distributed, and it has been potentially used for the management of nematodes in the greenhouses all around the world. Galeolelaps aculifer and Cosmolelaps mediocuspis, they are also potential predators. And interesting or good thing is that all these species that we are talking about
Excuse me, Dr. Jawad, we could not hear you.
Losses to the crop, which is cassava, and cassava is the staple at that time. I'm not sure about this time, but at that time when this problem was there, it was staple food. The population was relying on surviving or thriving on this crop, and when this crop was endangered, actually the food security became a very big issue, or food availability became a very big issue. All methods were used: host plant resistance, cultural control, acaricides, everything was used. But this mite, which was introduced because there was no natural predator in that area where this mite was present, there was no natural predator available to manage it, and climate was excellent. And one of the things mentioned in the literature is lack of ecologists, that first of all they didn't properly identify the species that they are facing with. So last option was the classical biological control. So IITA, International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, they introduced variety of biocontrol agents, including the fungi, insects, and mites. Among the mites, the focus was on the phytosid predatory mites. They imported million of phytosid predators, 7 species in at least from Colombia, none adopted. This was the point I was referring to, that climatic adaptability is such an important issue that if you are not aware of it, your whole plan can be jeopardized. So none of them adopted. Then, after 4 years, they brought from Brazil two species from two genera, which is Typhlodomalus and Nucellus. 5 species of Typhlodomalus were introduced potentially. One of them, Typhlodomalus aripo, was successful in providing a countrywide and a region-wide management of the cassava green mite. uh, its best point was that in prey absence, it dispersed or stayed on the plant, feeding on alternate food sources. It reduced the pest population to 90%, increased the yield, and provided not only the better food to the community, but also in terms of economy. There are companies, as I mentioned before, which are providing ready-made or ready-to-use biological control agents for the spider mites and nematodes, and there are few to name them. Uh, there are some research questions for the scientists and researchers who are listening, and students in particular, which I think while I was trying to prepare or have been through in my journey of research, was these questions raised in my mind. These questions are not as an exam questions to you, but these are questions if you would like to proceed to make a research proposal or to make a master's research or a PhD research in certain aspects of the biological control, particularly not only in the predatory mites, but also in any other predator that you are dealing with. These are some questions that were there in my mind, and I wanted to share with you. If someone could get benefit out of them, that's going to be great contribution to science and obviously to the pest management, not only for your region but also for the globe. I thank you for your patience and your time, and I hope I have covered much of it, but I am aware of it. There are 2 to 3 aspects I missed. However, if they will be asked in the questions, I am happy to answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jawad, for such a knowledgeable presentation regarding the economic importance of predatory mites as potential biological control agents. Now it's time for the question answer session. I request all the participants who is listening, if someone want to ask any question related to today's topic with our respected speaker, Dr. Jawad, please raise your hand, or you can send your questions either in the chat box of the Zoom or in the Gen webinar group. So someone want to ask, please, I request you to unmute yourself, and first I request to introduce you, your name, from where you are speaking, you are joining, and then you can ask your question briefly. Thank you. Yes, please unmute yourself. I don't know, your name is not visible, but you can ask. Yeah, thank you. Please speak loudly. Your voice is not audible. You are not audible. Uh, all right, Dr. Jawad, there are some questions I sent in the WhatsApp group, a screenshot from the chat box. You can read and
Okay.
answer, please.
Sure. Yes, I am going to see that. Okay. First question that I can see is there any relationship between the predator mites and insects? Okay. I will try to understand the question. Relationship means like predatory mites feeding on the insects or predatory mites used as along with the insect predators. So yes, if it comes to the second point, that predatory mites are working along with the insect predators, yes, uh, this is considered as the integrated mite management, not integrated pest management. There's a different terminology for that. Goes with integrated mite management, where the predatory mites have been used in USA for the almond pest management, and in California for citrus psyllid or citrus pest management. So predatory mites have been used for along with the insect predators for the pest management. If as I understand the question. Second one, I will see. Yes, please.
Someone want to ask Engineer Al-Nair, please first introduce yourself, then ask. Please. Yeah, please unmute. Engineer, can you please unmute yourself?
Hi, are you listening?
Yeah, please ask.
Hello. You answer my question in chat. My question is there any relationship between the mites and insects? Is there in your experiment, or you use any mite to control pests like whitefly and aphids and so?
From where are you?
Oh, okay.
Okay, Dr. Jawad, please. You can
Yes,
answer.
yes. Okay. Right. Yes. Specifically, it goes from the example of the generalist predators that they have been used for the management of whiteflies, for the thrips, for the aphids. This is, I know through literature, that there are success stories in which the species from the Typhlodomus, species from the Nucellus genus, species from the Amblycius, they have been used for the management or control of insect pests from the category of thrips, whitefly, and aphids.
Someone want to ask? Please unmute yourself. Dr. Awais Ali.
Hello, doctor. How are you doing, sir? My question is that I'm from Pakistan, Dr. Vasily. I'm asking you that in Pakistan, the heavy density population in sugarcane. How we can control the mites in the sugarcane, because in July and August, the height of the sugarcane 10 to 15 feet, and please tell me the integrated mite solution for that.
Right, sir. I may be able to answer you in a very, very general way, because specifically, if I have to answer, then there will be some associated questions like the species that you are talking about, then the distribution, what's the distribution of this pest inside the sugarcane orchard. But generally, when it comes for using the predatory mites in the mite management program, so usually the spider mites are the pests. So the recommendation is that when you see the pest spider mite, you have to use predatory mites. Even if you have a history in your orchard or in your field that here spider mites usually appear in the season, even before they appear, you have to keep the predatory mites over there. So this is the problem with the spider mites, that once their population is established, they make such a high webbing that even the pesticides or water sprays or predators, in some cases, specialist predators, they do not provide much of the management. Um, in such certain case of sugarcane, if I would say in way of augmentative management, you can use specialist predators with their recommended doses, which will be according to your pest scouting data. That what's the distribution? It is along the edges. This is scattered distribution or the damage inside the field. So in this, when the population is very high, usually the spider mites, they are very, very difficult to manage. So in the start of the infestation, this any control measure, if you do either using pesticides or resistant strains of the predatory mites, this is much helpful. I believe if I am wrong, you can correct me. There is a spider mite, is the sugarcane mite, which make different webbing structures than the two-spotted spider mite. On the sugarcane, different species come. So they make web nest type of webbing, not covering the whole leaf. They make small nests, small patches. So in this way, there are certain predatory mites from the genus Nucellus you can check, which are efficient in maintaining the woven nest mites. You can also use Phytocillus persimilis in this regard as an augmentation. Uh, Once the prey is gone or your damage is reduced, then the predatory mite will not be established over there because they are specialists.
We have a
So in some, yeah, please.
yeah. You done, Dr. Jawad? So we will go for next.
Yes, I think so. Yes, I think so. If still it is not answered, they can contact.
Our respectable participant, Mr. Minhaj Khokar, he want to ask. Sir, please, you can ask.
Assalamu alaikum. Dr. Jawad, first of all, thank you for a very informative presentation. I'm calling you actually from California. I live in Silicon Valley. I have a 61-acre farm here, and I grow various crops and veggies and fruits and all of that. We have a lot of aphids, and at the same time, we use ladybugs and some other species to control um, different kind of insects and all different kind of ticks and all kinds of other insects. My biggest issue in Pakistan, I mean, in my vertical farm, one of the things that I realized that we were having uh, uh, different, we were having attack of different kind of mice. And then this is where I realized that the source of our insect was actually coming from outside. We were getting cocoa coir from a commercial supplier, and that cocoa coir already was contaminated. Then we also got the plants from NARC, and those plants also were contaminated. So to control all these different kind of insects, it is very important that what is the source of the stuff that is being brought in. And I think this is one of the main issues for the management, I mean, for the control management of how insects are going to come into your place and how are you going to tackle them. Would you like to address some of this issue in terms of, like, I think you gave the example of Benin, and that this is where, or in Uganda, one of the tick that came from United States by accident, and it created a major um, food security issue. Can you please a little bit emphasize to the source of um, insects coming into your environment? Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I do sincerely appreciate your question and your comment and your experience that you have shared over here. There is a lot of things to learn in this one. Um, See, sir, this subject that you are referring to is actually very interesting. At the same time, it is very big. As they say that the prevention is better than cure, I think this rule applies everywhere, and that's why the quarantine department we have, and I think Dr. Saqib has a lot of experience and a lot of stories to tell us, good experiences to tell us that how prevention is keeping our borders safe better than cure. Somehow, if a notorious organism happens to pass through these strict checks, obviously the next step comes as a cure. I do agree with you that before we go and treat the problem, we have to see from where the problem came. And we happen to have gone through a lot of these global scenarios in the last 5 years. And in particular, some big case happened in 2020, and all of us were affected by it. So, yes, the first thing is that we have to check what was the source. We have to cure the source because, as they say, nip the evil in the bud. This cures everything. But if it happens to have spread, we have to manage it or cure it so we can avoid its spread. So in my understanding, if prevention was there, strict rules were there, and somehow with some problem or some, let's say, inconsistency, the pest has been released or moved or spread in a certain area, we need to identify the factors that are helping it to flourish. In When it comes for the pests or when it comes to the organisms, there are different biotic and abiotic factors which contribute towards its success. One of them is the absence of natural predators, because the nature usually keeps a balance, keeps a check on the population density of all organisms an ecosystem has, which goes through the concept of carrying capacity. So yes, if the nature's management officer, which are predators in other terms, or parasitoids or natural enemies, are not there, then these thieves or these robbers who came from the outside, they are going to rob the resources. Robbers, I mean by pests. They are going to feed on the nutrients, and they are going to feed on the different aspects or resources available, which we have provided for our better use. So first thing is that we need to identify what are the factors. If we know that there is a predator present, which is potential, and it is not providing a management to these invaded organisms, now the next step is to identify why our predator is not working, why our police is not working. Then we can find out, as an example, because we were spraying pesticides, we were without any check, without any negative impacts, we were trying to kill everything. And these organisms, usually, which are invading our personal space, they are mostly resistant to such kind of things. They are notorious. And our police officers were under